you're doing well. The delivery that I mentioned at the end of the previous video is not of our souls to the Maiden in Black, but we're going to do that and pump a bunch of points into intelligence to get a 5th spell capacity slot.
Art thou done? Mean that? Full of the mind, key to life's ether.
There we go.
Soul of the art thou done? Mean.
It's also not a delivery of our excess weight to stockpile Thomas either. Once we're through, we're going to head back to the very beginning of Stonefang Tunnel.
You have a heart of gold.
Finally, the delivery is not an expenditure of our time spent talking to the filthy man, because he's icky and filthy and gross and other synonyms.
What be your need? If it be a blacksmith. Demon soul? The demons are powerful, so doing so the soul of it. I told you that future has a good mighty weapons, the highest grade of all of them. The highest grade. Hey! Yes, that's the one. A red, hot demon soul. Now you can bless your weapon with another demon soul. Wise choice. You've done well to put your trust in the great blacksmith Ed. Bring me a demon soul. I shall use it to bless your weapon.
Blacksmith Ed took some coaxing, but eventually was willing to take the red-hot demon soul off our hands. This is the mechanic that allows you to turn standard weapons into a more unique variety by using a boss's demon soul. It's something that we unfortunately won't be doing, but I wanted to show it off anyway for completion's sake. With that out of the way, we're back in the Nexus. Let's rid ourselves of this mortal coil and return to the soft, warm blanket that is soul form. I'm excited to show off the end of World 2, but we actually have someone new to talk to.
Well, I remember you. I'm glad I found you. I found some really nice trinkets. Well, we've been long acquainted, so I'm willing to part with them at a special price. But only if you buy today.
True to his character, Patches sells you items that, while useful, cost exorbitant sums. Take, for example, this shard of archstone that costs 5,000 souls.
Nothing here is stolen, I swear. I no longer partake in the whole corpse robbing thing. Yeah, no, I'm completely free from my vice. My old mother would be proud indeed. Aren't you proud of me too? But you see that priest and his disciples over there? They still don't trust me after that little incident behind the altar. Shouldn't they believe in forgiving and forgetting and all that? Well, I have news for them. Praying has not put food in my mouth, nor anyone else's.
If you think back 2 videos ago when we first met Patches, there was no altar to be found, let alone anything that had to do with the worshipper NPCs in the Nexus, but he talks as though we're aware of it. This is actually a glitch, and I'll explain why later, but I honestly enjoy that it happened because it's very easy to imagine that Patches would pull off some horrid mistreatment of others and then complain to someone completely uninvolved.
Are you begging for a match? Me? Without doubt, I made my best effort to save Sage Freak. But I had not the strength. It's as simple as that. Besides, if I myself were captured, who would stand here and recruit rescuers? I see. Suit yourself. Just ensure that you rescue Sage Freak as quickly as possible.
The condescension and hubris of Freak's apprentice seems to have worn off a bit. I appreciate his honesty. Anyway, on to the end of World 2 by getting there via the Archstone of the Demon Flame Lurker. Since ancient times, a fire demon has been sealed in an underground temple filled with dragon bones. Deeper still lies an even larger dragon's skeleton. Coming back to an empty Flame Lurker arena offers the player a notable respite from the intensity, but the looming unknown beckons them all the same. An ornate passageway filled with flame is all there is, and... Hey, wait a second. Didn't Flame Lurker bust through that? Shouldn't there be a hole? Why is it suddenly repaired? Whatever, I'll chalk it down to magic and forget about it. Not exactly sure where that fire is coming from, but it makes for neat scenery. The only way to progress is through this tight passageway with a very unique style. As opposed to Stonefang's makeshift mine paths, this boasts actual architecture, and a fancy bit at that. Look who's back. It's Dragon God, here to punch all of the frame rate out of your PS3. This boss fight is like no other in the game. It's less of a fight and more of a puzzle where failure means death. Dragon God's eyes are the key to progressing. Yellow means that he's lost sight of you and won't attack, while red means you better get the hell out of there, and fast. Or in that case, failure meant almost death. Yep, it's one of those. Rather than taking out Dragon God with our own might, we have to make our way through the arena and activate 2 hooks on opposite sides of him while avoiding his explosive strikes. Basically, all we can do is make hit-and-run attacks on the rubble blocking our way while keeping a close eye on his many eyes to make sure that we're not about to meet our temporary demise. I showed it off a bit after the harpoon by pointing the camera, but Dragon God's size and scale is unmatched. Also unmatched is the size of his scales. Scale remark was probably the worst pun I've ever actually said out loud in any of my videos so far. I deserve that, I think. I started off the next attempt by picking up the new moon grass on that corpse because I have no doubt that those of you who realized I missed it were wincing a bit. But it's fine, I got it. It's like dark moon grass, sans the curing of status ailments. Mouth within a mouth thing he has going on. It's also one of my favorite characteristics of the xenomorph from the Alien franchise. It turns out that my issue from my first attempt was that I ran back when I should have run forward. It seems that his breath attack can't extend this far to the right. Gee, it sure is a good thing that Dragon God tried to attack us and cleared the way that first time, or else we probably wouldn't have been able to get to this contraption at all. One has to ask the question of why these are here in the first place, and we're actually given something resembling an answer to this, and I'll show it in a little while. Anyway, we just picked up the Master's Ring, which is a very difficult ring to explain. I'll try to do it rather quickly. Some weapons, such as axes and maces, have something called sweet spot damage, which basically just means that when you're at a certain distance from the enemy, you do more damage. The most damage from the correct distance is called the sweet spot. The Master's Ring increases sweet spot damage while decreasing all other damage. Dragon God's body vanishes to dust, leaving nothing but a pool of lava and the javelin-like items used to subdue it behind. From the Archstone, we receive pure Dragonstone and the Dragon Demon Soul. We're also greeted with a message that informs us that we're able to progress to the next level of World 1, but we won't be doing that for quite some time, as I said before. Right now I'm going to show you the World Tendency screen. It's a bit difficult to tell exactly when a world is at pure white world tendency, but notice that Stonefang Tunnel is a bit brighter than Boletarian Palace, and also notice the whiteness of the icon beside Stonefang Tunnel at the top right of the screen. We've achieved pure white world tendency by never dying in body form and defeating all of the bosses in World 2. So what I'm going to do now is show you everything that earns us. And in case it doesn't go without saying, I'll be doing this at the end of every particular world. World 2 doesn't offer very many white world tendency events, but the first is right at the beginning of this boss arena. At less than white world tendency, there's rubble right here, barring our path. The Dragon Bone Smasher is a stupid huge weapon, and it's amazing. The description says that it's a thick mass of iron, and it mentions the blacksmith's joke that it can scarcely be called a sword. As far as I can tell from reading discussion about this item, this is an arguably subtle reference to the manga Berserk, of which the game's director, Hidetaka Miyazaki, is a fan. Very similar lines are uttered about the main character's weapon, which is also a stupid huge sword that just so happens to have been originally crafted to defeat dragons. There's only one more White World event to show off, and it's actually tied to the weapon that we just acquired, but we have a plethora of souls to spend and a body to get rid of, so let's do that first.
Thou seest
I really want to deposit the Dragon Bone Smasher as it weighs far more than I'm comfortable carrying given the inventory limit, but we need it for the next event.
art thou the main.
Hello again. I'm keeping a close watch. You have a heart.
I can only imagine the smug look Patches must have had after watching us do that, the bastard. Now let's read the new Archstone description. The Archstone of the Demon Dragon God. The underground shrine was made to worship as well as seal in the Dragon God. The ancestors of the excavators revered it as a god and maintained it well. This description means, at least to me, that while they did believe Dragon God worth worship, reverence, and respect, the original excavators were a rather pragmatic sort, and realized that were Dragon God to get free of this area, he would probably wreak chaos and mayhem across the land. At least for my part, I am extremely grateful to the ancestors of the excavators, and I hope that you are too. Our goal right now is that small section halfway down the large tunnel. White World Tendency has spawned something that we're able to interact with.
Egads! Oh, you nearly frightened me to death, creeping up on me like that. My name is Scirvir. I seek treasures of the unknown. I'm impressed you've come this far. Were you guided by a sixth sense or a brash imprudence? Either way, you've more skill than I. Let us put that skill to work. There is a temple beyond here, below the ground. It is a work of art, molded by the ancient burrowers to appease the bones of dragons. As a precaution, a broad sword which can crush bone and slay dragon is stored in the temple. Truth told, it is the laughing stock of many a swordsmith. They say it's as blunt as a bludgeon. A dull blade meant to slay a dragon. Curious, is it not? I would search for it myself, but I'm afraid I'd fare poorly against the demons. If you happen to come upon the sword, please let me have a look at it. This place is magnificent, eh? The bones of dragons exuding awe, a dream come true. Hey, that's... You found it. Let me have a look.
This is Scirvir the Wanderer. You may have seen him in a few loading screens. I have to admit his entire character feels like a subversion of expectation. With his pose in those loading screens as well as his badass title, you would expect, well, a badass. But instead we have this stuttering, crouching man lacking in confidence.
Wonderful. The arts of swordsmanship applied in a perfectly useless manner. Oh, do not mind me. Thank you, it was a pleasure. Please, take this as a small show of thanks. Take care of that sword, will you? She's a beauty. Take care of that sword, will you? She's a beauty.
He's probably my most relatable character. Anyway, he gave us pure Greystone, and that's it for World 2. I have to admit our first World Tendency event is a good example of the rather confusing implementation of the this mechanic. Scirvir spawns at pure white world tendency, which means, offline anyway, he only appears after slaying Dragon God. I'm not really sure what involving him with world tendency accomplishes, as it seems rather backwards to me, and almost impossible for a player to think to go back to this area after finishing the entire world. As far as a first experience is concerned, it probably would have been a lot better had Scirvir just been there regardless of the player's world tendency, but I digress. Thanks so much for watching as always. In the next video we'll begin World 3. You're in for a spooky, atmospheric treat. Bye now.